Are you looking for a podcast about society failing humankind?
Well, then you're in the right place. Welcome to a YMBToAP Interlude.
That's right, here we are. It's been a minute.
It has.
Not for you guys. Been a minute for us. But hey,
Yeah,
we know what we're doing. We're professionals.
we're pros. We didn't have to go to Best Buy immediately before this. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't reset every single recordable setting that I've had in
We know
every
what we're
system we
doing.
have.
We didn't forget to do the theme song just now, did
Oh, look
we?
at that. I mean, I guess
I don't remember if we do theme songs for you guys. It's been
branding?
like 2 months.
I can give it to him, I guess.
Do you guys want it?
I mean, we could do it.
I mean,
Do we even have a banner for that?
it's literally been 2 months since we recorded. We forgot how to do a podcast. It's fine.
Oh my god. It's okay. They're fine. They know what it
Fine.
sounds like.
You
They know
know.
what it sounds like. You know.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, I thought we were just going to go back and forth and sing the whole thing. Oh man.
Anyway,
Anyway,
here we
we're
are.
doing an interlude for you guys.
We
A lovely,
are.
lovely interlude. I somehow got Kelsey to watch both Joker movies.
Yeah, both of them.
Did you watch them at once?
I
In one
watched
sitting?
2 sittings, so one of them on
Okay.
Monday, one of them on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that was the best way to watch them, like
Yeah.
back to back like that.
I don't know what I want to ask.
Um,
I guess I want to add. Okay. Not as a whole. We'll do them one at a time.
okay.
Okay. What did you think of the first one?
I loved it. It was sad.
I love the first movie.
It's
It
a
is so good.
it's so good. Like, I think that the director had a very specific vision. He came in knowing what he wanted to do, what he wanted to deliver, and he did
Yes.
it. So I haven't looked up shit about either of these movies because I didn't want to be
Oh, I tell you
tainted
so
by.
much about these movies.
Okay, I didn't want to be tainted by like the opinions of society on either of them. So
Okay.
I just went in like completely blind and experienced them alone.
Okay.
The director is the same for both movies, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did he like write, direct, produce everything, or is it just
He did write them.
okay?
Yeah, he did
Todd
write both of them.
Phillips.
Todd Phillips. Yeah.
Is he
Yeah.
famous for anything else?
He is, I believe. I'll look him up real quick while
Okay.
we're doing stuff. But I will just say, so the first one was never intended to have a sequel. I don't know if you feel that way watching it. It
I
was
mean,
always intended as a one-off movie.
yeah, I could definitely see it being a standalone. I remember at the end of the movie, I was like, I don't need more. Like, I feel like the director came in, told
Yeah,
a story, and got out, and I
it's
was like,
pretty good that way.
yeah, I didn't want another one. Um,
So wild, fucking wild. I'm about to read you what this guy's done, and you're gonna go, what?
okay,
What? Um, writer director on Road Trip from
okay,
2000. Writer director of Old School.
wow,
Writer director of Starsky and Hutch.
what?
Right? Like, fucking do it. Do it. That movie. Writer director of School for Scoundrels. The director of The Hangover.
What?
Yeah. Director and writer of Hangover Part 2, Hangover Part 3. Simply the producer of A Star is Born. That kind of tells me how
Okay,
we got to Part 2 at some point.
sure.
But yeah.
That's
This
a
dude is a straight up comedy guy, and I do remember reading he felt like comedy in movies was dying, so he was like, I'm going to never make a comedy movie again, and then made Joker.
okay. It's his own personal villain origin story, I guess.
Kind of.
Weird.
So I will tell you that this movie was intended to be a whole string of movies called like DC Elseworlds. Like this is
Oh,
not the comic books. This is like, hey, in another universe of this character existing, this is how it would be.
okay.
And
That's
then do it
interesting.
for like a bunch of properties within DC.
Hmm.
So yeah, a one-off like, hey, what if it was like this for him? And that's what it was. instead
All
of,
right.
crazy clown prince of crime, mass villain guy, just like
Yeah.
here's a more grounded take on it.
I That's what I liked about this movie is that it's a very grounded take. Like you don't get super villain. You don't get like some
Yeah.
it's there's nothing super about the movie. It's all very much like this is something very real that could happen and does happen to a lot of people. Like,
Yeah.
man, let me pull up my notes for this because I did write down just a couple of thoughts as I was
So
watching through it.
while you're pulling those up, I will preface it again with how I saw this movie. It was
Hmm.
in 2019. I had flown to the UK for work,
Oh yeah,
and I simply wanted to see a movie in a UK theater. That was my whole thing.
yeah.
I just wanted to say I went to the movies in the UK. And that happened to be one that I was like, well, I mean, I do want to see it, I guess. So I went and saw it. And I loved it. Like literally since day one, I think this is a 10 out of 10 movie. It is shot well, scored well, acted well, messaging in a way done very well. Like everything about it I just think is so perfectly crafted. It is a
So
great great movie.
why, in a way, what makes you what gives you pause on that?
Well, giving that because that's kind of what part 2 is all about.
Okay.
And so I don't love part 1 because I'm like, yeah, I wish I was him.
Yeah, and I don't
I'm like,
know.
man, I wish we understood why people like that exist.
I don't know why people look at this movie and they're like, yeah,
That's
fucking
me, dude.
Joker.
Yeah.
Who is out there watching it? Like, I understand identifying with pieces of the character being like, yeah, I've been trodden on by society too, or like, yeah, I got beat up in a back alley one time, or like, I have mental health struggles.
See, that's not
But
even my thing. I'm just like, yeah, that's so real.
yes,
Because you
yeah,
know how I feel about it just being real and going like,
yeah,
yeah, this part of the world sucks, but look at it sometimes maybe. That's
yes,
what I like about it.
that's what
It's
this
not
movie
me being
does.
like, yeah, dude, I wish someone would give me a chance to fucking
I
show
wish someone
that
would
I'm
give
against
me,
the society, like
yeah,
that's
like
not why I like it.
I wasn't rooting for Joker at any point in this movie,
I like
honestly.
kind of am a little, but I'm not like he's so justified. That's not my take.
Right.
You know what
Yeah,
I
like
mean?
I feel like people saw the subway scene where he is, he's
Yeah.
assaulted by just a bunch of people on the subway and just decides to do a little violence.
Like
Are we allowed to say the GUN word on YouTube? I don't even know.
I think you can, but we'll go with pew pew.
Okay.
We'll go with a pew pew, right? So here's my thing. This movie to me is not about like I kind of this movie is all like misunderstanding and just happenstance. Like this
Yeah.
movie, he didn't go out to craft this persona. He didn't go out to become this. It just unfolded this way.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. The only like this whole pew pew scene exists by happenstance. He never intended for this to happen.
Yeah. Like it's almost I was taken aback on this because I kind of forgot that the whole checkout's gun thing happened. Like he gives him the weapon, and I was like, okay, that's definitely gonna
Hmm.
come up later. And then he's on the
Yeah.
subway, and suddenly he shoots that guy's head off, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot he had one of those on him.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, I just thought that. I wasn't rooting for Joker in this scene. I was like, this is a broken man, and this is how
Yeah.
things like this happen. Like it's a very realistic look at why something like this could happen, and it's
Yeah.
not a justification thing. Like I said, I wasn't like, yeah, get him, Joker. I was just like, man, this sucks for everybody involved.
Like this came out in 2019 and I brought up this well, not this I mean, it is this scene, but this scene is literally the turning point for the whole movie,
Yeah.
which later cuz the scene I brought up was actually this scene,
Okay.
but we'll get there later cuz to, put ourselves in a place in time, we just kind of had a similar event happen in real life
Yeah, so we're recording this mid-December, and right now the adjuster has just gotten caught. So
Yeah.
caught,
Well, maybe we don't know. We don't even know if that's him.
yeah. Luigi Mangione is who we're talking about.
Yeah. But, so there's uh, a health company CEO that was murdered
Yeah,
not too long ago. And I remember discussing it and literally going back to a line that's in this scene here. And I was like, that this movie is so relevant right now.
yeah. I was
Because
as
he
I was
says,
watching it. Yeah, go ahead.
if it was me in the street, you wouldn't care. You'd walk right over me. But
Yes,
these three rich guys, because some rich person went and cried about him on TV, oh, you care so much.
yes, yeah.
And
That
I was like,
really resonated.
that's literally what's happening right now. That's
Yeah,
on the news today.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's crazy how as I was watching this movie, I was like, man, this movie was before its time. It knew what it was doing
oh yeah.
before any of it was relevant. But then I remembered, like, it was 2019. I know who was president in 2019. This movie was of its time. Like,
Mhm.
this movie had the messages.
Oh yeah.
I think it was ahead of its time in messaging because not everybody felt this strongly or this way in 2019, but we're certainly feeling it now.
This movie might have been what has been my talking point crux for the past 5 years. That the system is so broken
Yes.
that I do think, and I do still think this, not saying that I'm going to be out there doing it, and not saying that I'm actively promoting it. But what this movie did was show that that system was so broken, and the only way they fixed it was a revolution of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the train scene right before this
That scene was
is kind of
rough.
like what's happening with gunning down and well, can't say that,
Oh, we
but
probably can.
pew pewing somebody in our world,
Yeah.
like when the system is that heavily broken, sometimes it's that big a shakeup. I mean, there's the whole let them eat cake thing,
Yeah.
which that just happened a couple weeks ago. Somebody said that literal shit in response to that murder.
Yeah.
Like this movie is so
Relevant.
I think you can see and learn a lot from this movie.
Yeah. And
And that doesn't mean
unfortunately,
how to become this guy.
yeah. Unfortunately, it is a timeless movie, especially in America.
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
feel like we're always experiencing some cycle of this, some iteration or version of whatever's happening in this movie. Um,
Maybe that's why, well, I don't know, cuz so to finish up from me seeing it in the UK, I
mhm.
know I've told that a bunch, but when leaving the theater, I was kind of in the middle of a group, but there was a big crowd behind me going like, "God, those Americans like the worst movies." They hated it. Like
Yeah.
every person in my UK theater hated it, and I remember just thinking like that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's so
Yeah.
good.
I think
And
it's different
what's
when you're living it.
oh yeah. It, watching that train scene right now was way different than when I saw it in 2019.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have experienced this movie in this moment because it is like,
Art finds you when it needs to, remember?
yes, it's a perfect mirror of like everything that's happening today in the news. So I
Yeah.
was the whole time I was just like, oh my god, like this is this person and this is that person. And it's all the same.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so the way that his mom talks about Thomas Wayne, that's how people talk about Trump. Like, oh, if he could only
Yeah.
see the conditions we're living in, he would really understand. And like, he's a good person at his heart.
Would
I
he
feel like
though?
he's rooting for the everyman, and he's
Yeah.
not. He's just some
No.
rich, detached motherfucker who has a TV show. Like, it's just
So I did straight up watch this whole scene again before we came in here just now because it's
okay, good.
literally like my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah,
But he even says, like, do you, because he says something about, like, if it was me, you'd walk over me, but Thomas Wayne cries. And he's like, what, you got a problem with Thomas Wayne? He's like, yeah, I do. Do you think people like Thomas Wayne actually sit and think about what it's like to be us? Do you think they ever envision what a day is like for me? No, they never think about that because
yeah.
they don't
No,
have
no
to.
way.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same take.
I
I
want to
fucking love this movie, dude.
I want to unpack a really problematic thought that I had during this movie. So there's,
Okay.
I think it was during the train scene,
Mm-hmm.
and my gut reaction, like I don't know why this happened. My gut reaction to him like getting away and like running, I was like, man, I hope that the police catch him because I feel like this kind of person would be safer in prison.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that thought.
Okay.
That's a rough thing for me to think, and I literally had to pause the movie and be like, why did I just think that? Because like the the prison system is designed against people like him.
Yeah.
And while like yes, it is a shelter and it has food, that's the only thing that people on
But
the streets are missing. You know, like it's
would
also got a system of oppression. It's got there's so there's so much wrong with the American prison system, and I hate that
yeah,
my gut reaction was just to be like, oh, we should put this guy in prison for himself. Like,
I have never once thought about somebody belonging in prison for a safety thing like that.
really,
I've
I
never
do.
thought that before.
I sometimes have that thought, just like walking around in like downtown Dallas. You see somebody who
Yeah.
is like clearly unwell and homeless, and sometimes I'll have a thought and be like, man, if they could just go to prison, they would have meals, they'd have a community, they'd have structure.
See, I'm just thinking because I mean the whole point. Well, I mean the whole thing was he was totally not totally fine, but he was at a just level because he had
Yeah.
his medicine and he
Hmm.
had someone to talk to, and
Yeah.
those were defunded, and then he lost both of those, and that's the only reason we're at this stage.
Yeah. And
He
he
was
had
he was just treading
employment.
water. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Like he had the bare minimum of his employment. He had like he had enough of a support system with his coworkers and like he said with
Yeah,
his mental health like state sanctioned appointments or whatever he was having.
yeah.
But man,
Because like my thoughts, not like that would be safer for him. I'm like, if we could have just given him what he needed,
yes, like that's a thought that I should have
while
had if
while
society had
yeah,
failed him.
he's not good, but he was just enough. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I actually would just brought up the other day bread and circus to somebody, and they were like, I don't know what that is.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite things.
And so I was like, well, in this scenario, his circus would be his support system,
Hmm.
and he lost his circus. I mean, that's half of what he needs, you know?
Yeah.
Like he did have bread, barely, but like he lost everything else. And that's what got me so much in this movie was how little how little, anyone cares about these people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because I I don't know. I've never really thought like, yeah, an asylum would be better. Oh, prison would be better. Cuz to me, prison is more of a to me, that was always more of a punishment for a wrongdoing, not a sanctuary for some people, in a
Yeah.
way. You know
And
what I
that's the
mean?
way that you should be thinking of it. I'm wrong. Like, I want to reiterate for the
Yeah,
audience, like, I'm wrong for having that thought. He's not safer in prison. We kind of see that in the second movie. We'll
I was
get
about
to
to
that.
say we'll learn more about that later.
Yeah. So, I mean, and even this movie goes layers deep on it because you
Mm,
find out that he is like a victim of abuse his whole life. And
yeah,
it comes from his mom and the people his mom was with. And you also find out that his mom was a victim of abuse. And she's just kind of continuing the cycle without
yeah,
realizing it. You know, she wants the best for her kid, but she's unable to provide that for him because of their circumstances.
yeah,
So, yeah, finding out that he was like abused and the whole like the whole storyline with Thomas Wayne like being his dad or not being his dad, or
yeah.
his mom is crazy, or she was made to think she was crazy. Maybe she was lobotomized by Thomas Wayne because that's how you keep people
Maybe
quiet. You never know.
because this would have been like the 80s, I think, right?
Yeah, there was a. I was trying to place this movie in time because of like the
I
style.
think it was.
It's like a mix of like 60s, 70s. There's a little bit of
Mm.
50s elements even in there. But there was
Okay.
a billboard in the movie and that had like a list of movies on it. And I looked one of those up because I was like, what year is this? And that movie came out in 1981.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, this just says 80s.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
So,
Nice, nice, nice.
in the 80s also, I mean, there was a lot
This
of troubling stuff.
wasn't the last lobotomy in the 90s
Probably. I mean, there's been
or something like that?
there's a lot of troubling things that happen to women in today, but also like definitely up through the 80s. So,
Oh, the last lobotomy was in 67. Okay.
really.
That's what this says.
So in
But
her
I thought it
file,
was okay.
yeah, in this world of fiction, in her file, it did say like lobotomy. So she had that.
Okay.
I love scouring documents in movies.
Yeah.
Like as they go by, I like to pause it and be like, what do they have?
Yeah.
And yeah, lobotomy was on her intake
Mm,
file.
okay.
So yeah, it's just the cycle of violence and the cycle of mental health.
So I know this isn't really that pertinent, I guess, but like, do you think Thomas Wayne was his dad?
I do.
Because I was always a 100%. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, I definitely had my moments of doubt in the movie when they started to reveal like, oh, maybe his mom isn't all there either. But then I was like, that's what Thomas Wayne wants you to fucking think. Always believe
Yeah.
women, like be on her
When
side.
you have the power, you can hide and create almost anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was also the point. I mean, this movie is also about the failings of society, but it's also a little bit of an eat the rich movie.
Oh yeah.
Big time, you know?
100%.
Like showing how much they can just decide what they believe is true and make it so. You know, because like when he confronts him in the bathroom about being his dad and stuff, he just goes,
Yes.
"I'm saying that's not true," and beats the shit out of him.
Yeah.
You know, like that force of power right there.
Hmm.
You know,
I think that not enough people watch.
how do UK people not like this movie?
I know.
It's so good.
It's so good. I think that not enough people watch this movie from the perspective of like thinking that Joker is unwell. Like a lot of people
Yeah,
were watching it saying like this guy is right and good and everything he says is perfect.
that's what I'm
And if
wondering now. Are UK people thinking we're celebrating this circumstance
and a
or
lot of
this
Americans are.
outcome?
A lot of Americans
They
take
were.
Joker
Yeah.
and they're just like, look at this man, perfect, put him on a pedestal, he's great. And the
Yeah.
reason that Joker as a villain in the Batman series is great is because he is just villainous for the sake of villainy. This
Yeah.
guy is not the Batman Joker, you know?
He's not villainous. No.
He's not. He's just a
Broken.
guy trying to get through.
Yeah.
My
So
headset is dying. One moment.
a little bit of a weird thing. So I'll talk about this while you're changing that then. Like that is what I always liked about Joker in comic book version. Like in well, you know what? I'm gonna say I haven't really made a point yet, so you're
Okay,
good
just
still.
waffling.
Yeah. Joker, even in comic books, or at least the Dark Knight movie,
Uh huh.
he was still always trying to make a point, and that's kind of what I like about Joker, is not that he's like this grand whatever, but it was always to prove a point.
Yeah.
Because like in the Dark Knight, there's the scene where he's like, okay, here's a boat of civilians and a boat of prisoners.
Yeah.
Everybody will turn on each other to save themselves. That's my point, and watch me prove it. And then they prove him wrong, you know. But like that's such a just a societal point. That's all he's ever trying to do is make a point on society or the human condition. And I love that shit,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
think a lot of DC villains do that, which is like, I'm not a fan of super movies, like superhero, supervillain. I'm not
Yeah.
into that. But I love every DC movie I've seen because, for the most part, like, Batman is just like fighting guys who are out there trying to prove that society sucks. And here's why, Batman.
Yeah.
Like, you're a stupid rich boy. You've had it so good your whole life. And, like, here's all my problems. But then, like, you have the Batman side of things where, like, yeah, he's a stupid rich guy and he has all his toys and stuff, but he's also had a hard life in his own way.
Yeah.
So there's, I think DC takes it a little further than Marvel does. Not to turn this into like a DC versus Marvel
Yeah.
show, but like I identify more with the messaging that DC movies, Batman movies in general, are trying to put out. Like that
See
Riddler movie that just came out a couple of years ago. That one knocked my
the
socks off with Paul Dano.
oh oh the Batman movie we went and saw.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I loved that movie.
See, I just feel like Batman's the one doing that shit. Superman don't do that shit.
Yeah, Superman's just like, I'm strong and I save people. So
I don't remember Wonder Woman doing that, but I didn't see part 2. The first one, I was just like, that's just Ares, the god of war, being like, I'm gonna be bad. And I was
yeah,
like,
maybe I'm just talking about
whatever.
Batman. I don't know because I've only
It's
ever really
Oh, dude,
seen.
it's Batman.
Okay, I've only
Like,
ever really seen
that's a
Batman
Batman thing.
movies. So
They fucking rule, dude. Like, I don't really enjoy Batman as a whole. But maybe I do, because I always fucks with his shit, man.
every Batman movie is flawless. Like I have loved every single Batman movie I've seen.
They're always good. Like,
Good.
I really love Killing Joke because it's about. That's kind of the idea with this one, too. It's like one bad day can turn you, but then Batman's like, no, that's just because you were too weak to withstand it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so it's like a good thought of like, well, how? Because it's always perspective. I can perceive a bad day is enough to go this way, but I can perceive it as I need to rise above it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just your thought process. Like, that's what Batman shit does for me. Like, I love the end of Dark Knight. I don't really like the Dark Knight as a whole because you know how I
Okay.
feel about it ruining movies for like 20 years.
Yeah.
But the end of that movie, even with Two-Face, where he's like, this is fair. It's just about fairness. Like, his whole villain trope is one for one, eye for an eye, this is fair.
Yeah.
He's not even being bad. He's just saying, like, this is fair. And that's an interesting concept. Yes, it is fair, but the thing you're doing is wrong. So is it truly fair? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, he lost someone he loves, so he thinks he should get to take someone you love. But it's not like the person he was taking it from was at fault for it.
Yeah. Batman
So
is
it's just a
always
good look at
very
shit.
high concept stuff, I feel.
Yeah, and I like fucking Batman for that shit.
Yeah.
I do like Batman for that shit.
That's good stuff.
So that's what I was. Your Marvel versus DC thing. I think DC always better villains, but Marvel the better concepts for their heroes though.
Okay.
That's where they each kind of draw a point, you know?
Yeah.
Because like Batman's a rich kid, and I think that's why people like Spider-Man more. He's your
He's up for
average
people.
dude trying to do good for people,
Yeah.
even though it comes at his cost. You know, like
Yeah.
it didn't really come at Batman's cost, except for his money cost. You know,
Spider-Man has also been like relevant to the news lately, like the whole Spider-Man 2 train scene and like the people hiding him in New York being like, this is our Spider-Man, he's one of us.
Oh yeah,
That's
the shit that eats me, man.
extremely
I love that shit.
relevant right now with the CEO shooting. It's crazy.
Yeah, I just got one. I think it's a Jack Reacher movie with Tom Cruise or something.
Okay.
But there's a scene with Tom Cruise that's been going around TikTok, and I guess I think it's one of his Jack Reacher movies, but like he blows up something and he walks in this crowd and this guy gives him his hat and then they stand in front of him. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
That's a big whole thing.
Man.
But like that's what I was gonna ask. So the end of this movie.
Uh-huh.
Man, okay. Look, not saying it because it's good, but I truly, when seeing it the first time, was all like, this dude has to end himself in this scene. It would make the movie perfect.
Yeah.
And then he didn't. And I feel like it was almost all the more perfect. Like, I didn't see how that's not where this was going to go. And Joaquin and the director have said that was the full intent of this man at this moment. But he flips it at the last second. Like, that was what was... That is his intent walking onto this show. Was to do that on camera.
Okay.
But then he doesn't. And I always found that very interesting how, like, that, like, that was his full intent the whole day. 24 hours of, or weeks, days of planning.
Uh-huh.
And it flipped at the last minute. Again, that happenstance, that circumstances, and it changed the course of that whole city now.
Yeah.
It's big concept shit, man. I love that
shit. It's good.
I like this movie. It's a good movie.
It's a great movie. Okay. So we're talking about the second one.
But so yeah, everyone we're saying a lot of people took it the wrong way. We're
Yes.
praising him, we're loving him. He's so good and great, and he's what we should kind of almost strive to be. We're fighting the
Yeah.
society. He's the guy.
Yeah.
And this movie made $1 billion, by the way.
Holy
Over
shit.
$1 billion. It was the
That's
highest grossing rated
nuts.
R movie of all time,
Oh my god.
by the way, until Deadpool Wolverine came out this year.
Ah, okay.
So, remember, never supposed to make a sequel. We're done with this. But it made $1 billion. And
Yeah.
what does society need? Oh, we need the money.
Need
This
to
movie
catch
makes
money.
money. So Todd Phillips went, I don't like you guys that praise him. So I'm going to make a movie completely shitting on that shit.
Okay.
By the way, that is the premise and exact point of this movie.
That makes
So
sense.
knowing that now, I would love to hear what your rating is for this movie up front.
I give this movie a 9 out of 10, Robert. I loved Fully Ado. I thought it was so good. And I want to know why you
So here's
don't
the
like
thing.
it.
I just don't think it's a good watch. Like,
I had so much fun with it.
it did not draw me in at all.
Man.
I think I said before too, like I know the point and I know the premise and that's executed absolutely perfect. But I just don't think it's a fun watch. I did not like Joker's sad. We know it's a sad movie.
Yeah.
But I still like that sadness was still engaging to watch.
Okay.
I do not find this movie engaging to watch.
Oh man. I
Even
was
though I I think the opening is brilliant. And I
yes.
actually think the end is okay.
Okay.
But we'll get to because you want to talk about the end, and I have a
Yeah.
very interesting factoid about the end for you that you're gonna be
Okay.
like, oh, and that's why I feel like it's out of place.
Okay. His shadow has fingernails. Just want to point that out real quick.
On his shadow nails.
Yeah, it's really gross. Um,
So give me your take from this movie, what you liked about it, and then I'll tell you because I even said the first time that I reviewed it with you that there were parts that I was like, that is so fucking brilliant and great. Too bad everything around it doesn't do it for me.
yeah. Okay. So I thought that this movie, like I said, I watched them back to back basically, like
Yeah.
one night for one, second night for the second one, and I think that the messaging and the like aesthetic for the movie was really well. It was well drawn through. It was a complete
Yeah.
through thought. Like the director had an idea in his mind, and he was like, "And now we're just picking up where this one left off, and we're continuing the thread."
Yeah.
And I loved that. It felt very like intentional and put together. So I appreciate the production value for that.
Oh yeah.
And the plot, I really liked just kind of seeing how Joker was getting along in prison after my stupid thought of like he would be safer there.
Mm.
Like, oh, what a good place for him. No, it's not a good place for him. And I really loved Lady Gaga. I loved her whole role in it. I think that she brought an interesting
Man,
element to Harley Quinn
I
that
truly think if you cut her out of the movie, it's the same movie. I don't see any value to her
damn.
role in this movie.
Oh my god.
Like, I know that it's like a subversion thing, and maybe that's part of it. I'm too subversed, but like what she adds to the Joker character wasn't there for me.
Damn, really? Like I
Well,
thought that
like
it was
what like Harley Quinn is for Joker, we completely stripped that away,
in
and
what
like
way?
she adds to him, but she's nothing to him in this except to like play with his point of view. Because I mean, she is interesting in a in her thing, but like what she adds to him is almost not there.
I don't
'Cause
see that.
she likes his Joker persona, and she wants
Yeah.
him to be that.
Yeah, so she's pushing him further into that. Like,
Yeah,
yes,
but
embrace that
like
side of yourself.
I, I I don't know. It just I feel like that didn't land for me. Like
Oh man.
I get it, and then it just pushed him away. And then he was like, "Yeah, but I don't really want that." But that is also One
the
of the
point of the
scenes that I
movie.
said was one of my most brilliant favorite parts of the movie, though.
Okay, which one?
It's at the end on the steps
Okay.
when he's like, "I don't want to sing anymore.
Yeah, like stop singing. I just
Like,
want to
like
like
I,
talk.
I just want to talk." That line is the best thing in the movie to me.
It was
I
very
love that
striking.
shit.
Yeah,
And
because
I
he
actually
was
had a thought last night because I was
okay.
getting ready for today, and I was like, because I know that every time they're singing, that's what his mind is creating.
Yeah,
So none of it's real. I
but
was
there
like,
is some
what
real
is she
stuff.
actually saying in that scene to him? What is he not hearing? Because you just get to hear her say goodbye. What are the reasons she's saying to him? What is she saying to him as a whole? He's
Yeah,
only hearing music. And I was like, there's actual dialogue that she's probably giving that we'll never know.
but
And that was
there.
interesting to me.
I think the singing thing is also like there's a realness to it because there's a point where the reporters I think are talking about Harley Quinn and they're like, oh yeah, the lady who was singing on the wall when they're like climbing out trying to escape the prison and she's
Yeah.
singing. Like that actually happened. She was singing during that scene.
But is it real? Because the whole thing is this is an unreliable narrator tale. We never know what is real,
I guess.
kind of at all. I mean, part one, like the end, to go back to part one for just a second, did
Okay.
he really kill that lady at the end of the movie? Because he walks away leaving bloody footprints, or is that just what he's envisioning?
Yeah.
And now we have a fully realized answer because the whole thing at the end of the movie was, did any of that movie happen? Or is it just him creating how he got into the asylum to begin with?
I
But
didn't
now
take
we
that link
know,
from it.
well, for 5 years, that's been a question.
Hmm.
But now we have all of part two going like, oh yeah, all those events are real. So that whole unreliable narrator thing kind of got stripped out of the first movie now.
Okay.
Everybody wondered what really happened. Because there's the whole thing with the lady that lived down the hall from him.
Yes. I love that actress, by the way. What's her name? Zazzy? Zazzy
Uh,
Beats?
yeah, something like that. Yeah,
She's
she's great.
amazing.
But like that was a big that was a big trope in the first one, was the unreliable narrator.
Okay.
And we kind of take that away with part two as well. Like, but that's my thing. That's part two's point. Its whole point is to make the first movie not as good anymore. That's the premise. I mean, that's what
Okay.
he said. He said, I hate how much people enjoy him being like a hero to them. So I'm going
Yeah.
to absolutely shatter that image,
Well, I'm glad that he did that,
which was his
honestly.
idea.
I'm happy for that because people need to
Yeah.
stop looking at the Joker and being like, "That's me. I am that guy."
Yeah.
Like,
Because this right here is the epitome of what this movie's all about.
yeah.
And that's why I love the opening cartoon. I think
The
that's
opening was
brilliant.
amazing. Literally, when they did like the whole like, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
thrilled. My heart was leaping for joy. I was like, "Oh my god!" I wondered how long it was going to go on. Like, were we going to get a cartoon movie? Like, was because like I said, I went in blind. I didn't know
Yeah.
shit about the movie or the first one, to be honest. And one thing, okay, to jump back to the first one briefly, you could have given me 35 guesses at what song was playing when he's doing his iconic little stare dance.
Oh, yeah.
I would never have guessed Gary Glitter in my entire life.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be some classical song or something.
Nope.
I pictured like,
You know, watching
something
that scene
elegant.
again, I was like, this is never the cut you see on like TikTok and stuff. Like when people talk about that scene, they
Oh,
always cut in a different song.
yeah, they do. And
Yeah.
I understand why now because it's so unserious. Like this movie is a joke. It takes
Oh, yeah.
itself not serious at all, which I kind of like. I think that's what it needed.
Yeah.
And I think that that song playing with him on the steps, like the da 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 da,
Yeah.
hey, that is the dumbest song choice they could have picked, and I love the director for that because I think he knew if he had put like a Claire de Lune or something,
I
that's
feel
what I
like,
was always envisioning.
well, that's how he felt inside. Like he was like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I just killed that guy that was mean to me at work.
yeah,
Let
like
my
the
little friend
fucking
go.
jock rock
And
tunes.
like I'm feeling good today. And so
Yes.
he's just out there feeling good.
So I was
Okay, but
taken aback by that.
oh, that was my other thing. So Folie à Deux is means a shared delusion.
Uh-huh.
I didn't gather that from this movie too. So I think I
Really?
had built up a bunch of stuff for this movie because I was like, well, let's see what it is, right?
Yeah.
And it just didn't hit anything that I thought it was going to hit. And I
Okay.
think that's why I was so let down by it.
Yeah, I think your
Because I know his
expectations let you
point
down.
is right, right? Like I've said that he said this is what I want to do, and he does that. But I just I
You just expected something different?
it just wasn't what I thought, I guess. And it's not also we agreed we didn't need it. So now that I have it, I don't really want it still. I'm still cool with the first one. This one didn't give enough for me to go, yeah, this was a good supplement. To me now
Man,
it just exists as well, and I don't really
okay.
need it.
So let's talk about.
Hang on. We're heated, so let's go. Let's
Okay,
crack
yeah,
it.
let's crack it.
Let's
We haven't
crack it.
cracked it yet. I have a topo here.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
All right. I know it's taking me like 6 tries to get these fucking caps
By the
off.
way, I had a glass bottle Dr. Pepper the other day as well, which is
Ooh.
like their Dublin knockoff that they did.
Uh huh.
Um, that's shit, dude.
Not
It's
good.
still so bad.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't bought one in 10 years because they're so bad, and I had one again just to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, dude, Dr. Pepper in a glass bottle that comes from them, that's horrible. Never have one.
All right. So, what other screenshots do we have? Because I want to talk about the end of this movie, but I want to make sure
Oh,
that we're
we
covering everything
have.
else we wanted to.
Oh, wait, I
Oh,
gotta click on
this
it.
part. Yes. I loved the cartoon. Like, I thought it was so well done. And this part here gave me chills when he, like, shrugs, but his eyes are filled up with
I
red because
think
of the jacket.
I think that's a reason a lot of people don't like it as well. The first movie is very on the nose, and this movie is pure, absolute symbolism.
Okay.
Like everything is built on symbolizing something else. They don't really tell you any straightforward thing in this movie.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
And I think this is kind of iterative of that. Like the whole opening cartoon, they're not really saying they're two people. We're showing you a voiceless cartoon that
Yeah.
is telling you that. We're showing this symbol of like everything is a symbol that you're supposed to interpret for something else.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't like it because they want to be just like, hey, he's he's actually feeling bad about the shit he did, you know.
Okay.
But they don't say that to you
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people don't like to think about a lot of their movies. You know,
I guess.
I don't think a lot of people do. They just want to like enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
But this movie is very. What do I want? This movie is very cinema. I think hardcore.
Yes.
This movie's cinema.
Okay.
Hardcore.
I can agree with that. And then we want to talk about Lady Gaga for a minute
Gaga.
because Gaga, she is. I was the whole time I was watching this movie. I'm like, how is Joaquin Phoenix just sitting there with like no emotion? He's the best actor in the whole fucking world because she'll just like bust in a song in front of him and he has to pretend it's not the best note he's ever heard in his life. You know?
Also, because there was so much shown about her in the movie that
Uh
was
huh.
not in the movie, and that pissed me off too.
What do you mean?
There's whole songs that she's supposed to have that aren't in this. She has a
Hmm.
whole stair dance scene
Really?
that didn't happen.
Huh?
Like so much stuff that I was waiting for. That's literally my problem. I think so much that I was waiting for never happened. But that's the point. But you still like you built me up just to let me down, and I'm like, you really did. You didn't give me the stuff.
I guess I'm happy I went in as blind as I did. Like I'm so uninformed when
That's
it comes to
that's
the
what
world.
I think I said that too. Like just go watch it
Yeah.
because I mean I've had 5 years to be like, what could you possibly do? And I'm just like, I just didn't think this. You know?
Yeah. I think that Harley Quinn in this movie is such a good villain. They really like she's just lying to this mentally ill person because she's one
Yeah.
of those girls that like sees a serial killer on TV and is like, I love him and I want to be
Yeah.
married to him. And that's a real sickness that is in this fucking dark world that we live in.
See, so I think that's my thing. Like, I so can't jive with that I'm just all like, I don't like it.
Really?
I think that's the thing, because like, but that's real. Remember,
Yeah, that's a
that's the
thing that
whole thing we're talking.
happens.
I know it is, and I hate that shit so much.
I hate
Like the
it
people
too.
that write Marilyn Manson and shit,
Yes.
and they're just like, you're so amazing.
Right, like
I
mentally
hate that.
ill. It is.
Yeah,
So that's one thing I really liked about that is because you never really
yeah,
see that side portrayed in media. Like people are aware that it happens, and
yeah.
half the time you'll see it like in the fucking Ted Bundy shit that comes out.
That's what
Like
I
there's
was trying to
people,
think about with Zach
yeah,
Efron. Did they go into
yes,
there at all?
yeah. There's people that will watch that and be like, "He's so dreamy, oh man, Ted Bundy,
Oh,
he
I
was such
do
a good
remember
guy."
TikTok was doing that like crazy when
Yes,
that came out. Oh yeah,
it's obnoxious. There's so much erasure and separation. I don't know what it is that women. I don't want to put it on just women because I'm sure there's men out there that do this too. But like
oh for sure.
people that can see a serial killer or some kind of violent criminal, and now that I'm
And
saying it
just
out
like
loud, it's happening
love
right
it.
now with Luigi Mangione because like
Yeah.
he allegedly is a violent criminal and did a murder, and we're all like, damn, he could get it though, because he's so hot, like
Is
unreasonably
he?
hot. You've seen the photos of him?
I think I have, and I'm just
His
like,
little smile. Are you kidding? Like it's it's
I'll look him up right now.
I don't know. We're applying a morality to this crime when I'm aware that it's not good to murder. But like
Yeah.
in this case, you want to start a revolution, and this guy like is trying to be the dude, and I don't know. So as much
Yeah.
as I'm levying criticism against people that are like in love with serial killers and shit, I'm out here celebrating the adjuster. So who am I to talk? Um, but I thought that this was a good look into that kind of sickness because it's real. It
Yeah.
happens
Oh
all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And to see it portrayed like this, and they portrayed her very much the same way they portrayed Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker in the first film, where like people want to celebrate
Yeah.
her because like, oh, she's like the manic pixie dream girl, she's like this great, she's setting pianos on fire in the insane asylum and stuff. She's so entertaining and pretty and beautiful and perfect.
Yeah.
And she's not. She's a villain. She's a bad person, and she's manipulating a mentally ill person. And
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
good to
and
see
they
portrayed.
did they did one of the things you hate though.
What?
Remember? She was like, "I'm with baby."
Oh my
No,
god.
I'm not.
Yes, that was unnecessary. That was a weird little trope.
Like,
Um,
I think that's my thing. Just they used her in the right way to make us not like her.
yeah,
And that's why I'm like, pointless, don't like, because I don't like her. Like, I don't like her,
but you shouldn't.
but Gaga
Gaga.
is perfect in it. Yes, she is.
Oh
She is
yeah,
very, very good.
I couldn't look away from her beautiful face. Like the entire time, I was just like, Stephanie Germanotta, love me
I
forever.
know. And
But
so check this out too. It's very funny that this just happened the other day. So I have someone at work that went to see Interstellar
okay.
in IMAX because they just re-released it for its 10-year
Yes.
anniversary. And for some reason, they passed out 70 millimeter film stock
What?
for Joker 2.
What?
And so, yeah, I just have Gaga in film print now.
What the fuck? Okay.
Oh, I'm so pretty. I'm so pretty now.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so I was just like, oh, what a perfect thing to bring to my review now. Because I went, of course they're giving this out. No one liked the movie.
Oh
So let's give it
man.
out at Interstellar.
That's so weird.
That is very weird. But like,
I wish you liked this movie. I love this
I
movie.
don't. And just because, and not because like it's bad, I didn't find it as entertaining. You know what I mean? And like,
Okay.
so some people like, I think if it had had original songs and not just use songs that existed,
Yeah,
because
I was gonna ask.
none of those like relayed the messaging to me. And I think that's where I'm like, this song's not selling me on a point that's being made. It's just like, here's
Yeah.
music, But why
So
would you have original songs? He just hears music in his head that
yeah,
exists in the world, so it makes
exactly.
sense.
Yeah,
I
like it's
know
all.
it all makes sense, but it doesn't hit me the right way.
I was gonna ask if there are any original songs in this because I felt like I
No,
recognized most of them, but there were a couple that I was like, I don't know what that is. So
I think maybe only when they're running away from the
okay,
prison, maybe
yeah,
that, but like
that,
that's it.
and
And
then
I
the
don't even
part
know.
where he's like leaving a voicemail for her, he said a line that cut me to my. I love,
Okay, so
and
what do you say?
he says, "I would be the shadow of your dog if it meant that I could be by your side
Yeah.
forever." And I was like, oh, if somebody said that to me, I would die.
I'll I'll give you this
Uh
too. The mixing when I went and saw it,
huh.
all the song parts, me and Taylor both were like, we can't understand half of what they're singing.
Mm.
So maybe that helps me not enjoy it because I don't remember that line at all. You
Oh
would think
man,
such a heavy line like that I would have heard.
you should
But
watch this
like
movie again.
I could. Maybe at home. How did you watch it?
Just at home on my TV, HBO Max. I think
I
it was
thought it
six
wasn't on
bucks.
Max yet. Okay. Okay, cool. So we're saying home mix probably better because that theater mix, almost everything that he was singing, I don't know what the fuck he said. I'm
Wow.
not even kidding. I was like, but I had read that he purposefully sang bad because why would Arthur know how to sing? So I was like, oh, maybe I literally am not supposed to know what he is saying.
I remember you telling me that too, and I thought that Joaquin Phoenix did a really good job actually singing in this movie. So I was surprised about that too.
So
I think you need to watch it at home. I think the mix
could be a
was
circumstance of the theater because remember, weren't people like purposefully ruining the experience of this movie? Weren't they
the
leaving
same
the
as they
lights
were.
on? Remember?
That was in that set the Sound of Freedom.
Oh yeah, that too. I
I don't
just
know if they were doing it for Joker, but
I just remember like everybody was making a point to like be bad on this movie, which is why I was like, I must see it.
huh.
But now I'm wondering if they were like, we'll just tweak the sound a little bit, and then you won't enjoy it as much because there was a lot that I didn't quite gather
I think you should
sound wise from
watch
this movie.
the first one back to back with the second one because
Yeah,
you're inclined to do 4 hour sitting of movies.
I do like doing that from time to time,
So
just
I
on a
think
random
that
Tuesday.
Random Tuesday, I think that you would be able to experience this one again fresh and to see it like back to back with the first one. I think that
Yeah.
helped me a lot in seeing the vision. Um, so the end. Can we talk about the end?
Uh, if you would like to.
Okay, so I thought that it was very cool and special because I picked up on something that was happening, and then I came
Okay.
in here and I was like, "Get me a screenshot of this moment," because I wanted to see if
Oh
you
yeah.
had seen it too.
Yeah, I
And
know.
apparently, this is a thing.
It's a huge thing, and I will
Yeah.
tell you more about the thing as well.
Okay. Before we get to this part, actually, there is one thing that I did look up for this movie because
I'm not
it
gonna stare at
was.
that for. I would rather stare at God for a little
Yeah, let's
bit.
take a off for a
Okay.
bit. Um, I there's the scene after he is talking in the courtroom or whatever, and he's like, "My stupid fat prison guards, I hate them," and then he gets
Hmm.
attacked by the prison
I
guards.
was gonna. I didn't know if you wanted to go there.
I this part was so strange to me. So there's the whole scene. They go into the bathroom, and he says like, "You
Hmm.
should buy me dinner first." And I was like, "That's a weird thing to say when you're just being attacked." And
Yeah.
then they drag him back to his cell, and he's like pantsless, and there's mysterious bruising on his thighs. And I was like, "That's surely not a sexual assault scene that just
Okay.
happened, right?"
So that's the okay. I was gonna go there. Didn't know how you wanted to get there. I remember hearing about that and seeing a lot of stuff about it on
Yeah.
TikTok before I went to see it,
Uh huh.
and then I was like, "This is not as bad as TikTok has portrayed to me." I was like, "It was very much a here it is. It's gonna happen over here."
Yeah. It was
I
very
thought it was gonna
implied,
be here, and
right?
when
And
it
I'm glad it
wasn't,
wasn't.
well, I was like, if we're gonna go real and we're making points, that's what I thought we were doing here.
I
You know what I
guess. I
mean?
mean, you
But to
you
leave it that
never.
way, I was like, did that take that impact away?
Yeah.
Do you
So
know what I mean?
yeah, like I said, this is the only thing I googled for this movie because I just wanted to see. I wanted to confirm. Like, did that happen just now? Like, did I see something?
And see, that's why it didn't work for me either, because so we're talking about prison potentially being a safe place for people, and the point of
Right.
this movie was also to say no,
Hmm.
but then fucking tell us no. Don't imply no.
Yeah.
That's my
So
thing.
so when I
So
looked
that's
at
another reason why I was like, this movie's not doing it. Like, make your point. Make the point. Don't imply a point to me then. And I
yeah,
didn't like that.
when I looked it up, I wanted to know, like, did that just happen, or am I just like inventing
Yeah.
stuff? Like, am I just coming up with like a solution? And there was a post on Reddit that was like, so his pants were taken off. He
Yeah.
said, "Buy me dinner first," and there was bruising on his thighs. And if if you take out for a minute, if you imagine that Joker is a woman in this situation, there would be no question in your mind what just happened.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, you know what? You're right. So yeah, that did just happen.
Yeah.
And then another commenter right below that was like, the only reason I was confused is because typically when you see a sexual assault scene, it's always in your face and gruesome as fuck. Like, you never see them implied in a movie. And you also never ever see a male victim like this in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I can't think of a single, maybe there's like one in Game of Thrones, I think, maybe.
Okay.
But there's I've never seen an assault, like an SA scene like this for a
Yeah.
man. Whereas like for women, they're
Yeah.
always in your face. Literally the camera is always right here. And it's
Yeah.
horrible.
And that's my thing. I'm not saying do that, but like you even had to look it up. That
Yeah.
means it was that implied.
And I
You
don't even
could
think it
have
was necessary.
well, that's the thing. He simply wanted to say that happens in prisons.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I'm like, well then make a bigger point out of it because now some people are wondering, like the first movie, I get the message,
Hmm.
right? But then remember, like I was saying, this one is pure symbol. Take the message should you want to think about it further.
Yeah.
So, like, you're supposed to think about that later, but he didn't really make the point. It's
Yeah.
there, but think about it should you want to. Otherwise, just gloss over it and move on.
Yeah.
And I don't want the movie to kind of just be like, well, there's stuff in here if you want to find it. Like, no, like, say it. Just come out and say something. That's what was also missing for me. A lot of this is I need to just pick it up and think how I want it to be.
But
You know what
also
I mean?
you could look at it from the perspective of like the narrator, like as Arthur, what's his name?
Hmm.
Fleck.
Arthur Fleck. Yeah.
As Arthur Fleck, he's dissociating in that moment. So we don't see it. He doesn't see it. We don't see it.
Ex- and see, that's why I'm like, you're doing it. Like, you're doing it all right. But, like, it's not what I would want then. I want the heavier message, I think. But it does purely make sense. Like I was saying, how he hears the music in the parts.
Hmm.
Man, I should have grabbed a screenshot of that because that was really good. The very opening scene right after the cartoon, he's walking in the rain to go to his court case or whatever to talk to the people, and
Yeah.
they're walking with black umbrellas. But then when it comes to a high shot, they're all colors because
Oh, I didn't notice that.
he's picturing different things in his mind, and that's like one of the ways to show you we're gonna dip in it. Like see, he didn't say it, but he showed it.
Yeah.
We're gonna dip in and out of what he sees this whole movie. Like that's how
Okay.
subtle the messaging is in the movie.
Man, that's cool. I
It
would like
is
to watch this
cool,
movie again, honestly. Like
but
it
like I don't know.
I
Like I
liked it.
have such high praise, but I'm like I just don't want to watch it again.
Like you're sending me mixed messages here. Like, this movie is great. It sucked so bad.
That's how I feel about it. Like that is exactly how I feel. Like I don't really want to watch it again, but like he did what he was doing.
Yeah.
Like he did it. He did what he was doing. So it's a 10 for what he was trying to do, but what I want from it is not there.
Okay.
It's not there for me.
All right.
But
So the
that was my favorite
end.
moment right here. Right here. The whole stop
Oh yeah.
singing I want to talk now. I love
Uh-huh.
that. And that was like, I mean, right there at the end almost. And I was like, hey, you telling me something? That's yeah. Like I finally saw his like breakdown, you know, because everybody praises when the little dude comes up to the thing and he's like, "You were always nice to me, Arthur," and he does all that
Yeah.
stuff, and that's when he decides, "I don't want to be the Joker anymore."
Yeah.
For me, that scene's this one. This is the one that gets me that I like.
Okay.
That scene was all right. So then we got the end. Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So tell
Okay.
me what you saw and all that stuff.
So I don't know if anybody else in the world caught this little moment, but so he comes up, tells him a joke, stabs him to death, and I was like, I did want him to die at the end of this movie. I was like, Arthur Fleck needs to die to seal this whole franchise for me.
Because
Like
he
he's
needs to be out of his misery.
yeah,
His life is bad.
this poor dude, just kill him. Um, I really wanted him to die at the end of this. One, to prevent a fucking third movie, but
Okay.
but two, because I think narratively it makes sense for his character arc. Like,
Yeah.
like I said, he should have died in the first one. Like we both feel that way.
Yes, I definitely felt that way.
So, and I even told Richard, like as I was watching it, I was like, I think he's about to die. I think he's going to shoot himself because Richard was like, kind of passively watching it with me,
Yeah.
and I was like, I think he's going to kill himself on this. And Richard's like, there's a second movie. I was like, I
And you
know,
went,
but what if he
shut up.
dies?
Alternate movie. It's a different timeline.
It might be, or it's a dream. I don't know. So, but yeah, like seeing him actually die in this scene, and then the guy in the background, the part that I don't think anybody else in the whole world picked up on, cut
Mm-hmm.
his face open like the Joker.
Yeah.
So maybe follow me here.
Okay.
Maybe that guy is the real Joker, and this dude was just his inspiration.
That is the exact thought process of everybody.
Okay.
But so here's what I wanted to tell you that is
Okay.
interesting. So he's doing, and I forget what it's called. Uh, there's a term for cutting your
Is there
lips into that. Yeah.
smiling?
Let me let me look it up real quick.
Your Google history is just a fucking wasteland.
Yeah, dude, it's hardcore the things I type in here. um, man, it is like called something very specific. There's like a term for it,
I
right?
hate that there's a term for it. Like it happens frequently enough that people are like, we need to put a name to this thing.
Um, man, I can't find it, but that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the end to the first movie. They were gonna have Arthur do that,
Oh, I'm glad they
but
didn't. They had the whole like blood
uh,
smile.
but Christopher Nolan, who made The Dark Knight
Uh
and all
huh.
that stuff, he forbade them from
Ooh.
doing that. He
Ooh.
put his foot down and said, "That is not allowed. I forbid the studio from allowing them to do that."
Cool. I love that actually.
And then he left Warner Brothers. He parted ways with them, I think, to do Oppenheimer. And since he
Oh.
was removed from the theater or from the production studio, Todd was all like, "I'm using it now." And then he came up with this ending.
I think that this is a way better use of the whole face cutting than it would have been in the first movie, because to
Yeah.
see like the blood smile instead, that was really like well done, and I think a good nod to like who the Joker
Oh,
is.
yeah.
And then in this movie you basically find out. So like we said, he gives it the persona. He's like, I'm not Joker, it's just Arthur in here. Like I
Yeah.
hate Joker and I hate myself. And he separated himself from that persona. So for somebody else to come in and be like, that's my persona now, I like that.
Yeah.
And it makes
Well,
it
it's like you
makes
were talking. The people that idolize these other
yeah,
people.
yeah. It makes sense. That guy is the idolizer. He's the real
Oh,
Joker,
yeah.
who's also a piece of shit, but for no reason. Real Joker doesn't have a reason for the shit he's doing. He just does it.
Yeah. Like he
So
just was crazy enough to become it, you know?
yes. So
But
he,
exclusively that. Yeah.
yeah, this guy in the background, this random character, picks up the mantle of that persona and is like, now it's me. And I
Yeah.
have the control. So I think that is the perfect ending to this movie and this franchise.
I think that's why Christopher Nolan didn't want it to happen, because now the big theory is that's Heath Ledger's Joker back there.
Yeah,
That's
that
what
makes
comes
sense.
up in The Dark Knight.
The kid
And
even
everyone's like,
kind
no,
of
we should be different. It should be separate. And I wonder if Christopher Nolan was like, I don't want to be part of that. Like, take that
hmm,
away. And I wonder if that's why he didn't like it.
maybe,
Like,
but I mean,
we'll
the kid
tie you in
even
there.
sort of resembles Heath Ledger in a little bit. Like he's got the same kind of eyes and freckles,
Yeah.
so
Like,
I could see it.
this movie is saying a lot by not saying it. This is a huge show don't tell movie,
Yeah,
which is how movies are supposed to be. But like, I feel like it didn't. I think a lot of people got weirded. Okay, so I know that most people, not most, a lot
guys,
of
take
people
away
didn't
the
like
dead
it.
body. I don't want to look at the dead body anymore.
Yeah, that's fine. A lot of people didn't like it because yeah, he didn't become the Joker and he wasn't the guy.
Yeah,
Whatever. Like, I didn't care one way or the other for that. I kind of I wanted a little bit more comic book accuracy for like a Harley character for this one. I wanted to
mm,
know how that would play out. I kind of was curious, how are you going to make that work in this type of scenario? But we didn't get that. She then represented a fan base. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And I
So
think that's why it rubs me wrong, because I was like, but I wanted to know what you could have done instead
hmm,
of what you did. You know what I mean? Like, there's a
I
lot of,
guess.
I want to see something else as well, but we're never going to explore those things. And so I'm left wanting, I guess, a bit, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah, I mean, I really like what they did with Harley Quinn in this movie. I thought it was a unique way to play her character, like having her be like, yes, she has a PhD in psychology, like they mentioned that just in
Yeah.
passing, but she's also a member, a card
Remember?
carrying member of the insane asylum.
Yeah.
Um, she checked herself in and all that. I think that's brilliant writing for her. The fact that she checked herself in because she knew that Joker was going to be there and she wanted to meet him. I
Yeah.
think that is really cool and really villainous. So,
I mean, she's the ultimate villain of the franchise for sure.
yeah.
And it like messed up Lady Gaga for a while.
What?
So they got done. So she released an album of songs in the vein of this movie because she was like, I
Really?
wasn't. Oh yeah. She was like, I wasn't done with her when we wrapped filming, so I just made an album essentially as her.
Cool. I didn't know that.
I don't really like the songs on that one because it's all like, it's this one right here. Hang on,
Is it the
let
new one
me.
that's come out? Because she released a song recently called Disease, and I like that song.
No, I don't think so. Hang on, albums. It's this one right here. It's called Harlequin.
Okay. In your face right there. Just like,
But it's all like, it's got like when the Saints go marching in, and like it's not like new songs. It's all like
okay.
older songs in the style that they do it in this movie,
Interesting.
kind of stuff. It was a weird album, but like she straight up said I wasn't done with her when we wrapped filming, so I just kept going. Oh,
Huh.
and maybe okay. I know I'm very hypocritical, and I'm gonna say my pride is heavily wounded, and that's probably another reason why I don't like this movie as much.
Okay.
Because you remember, I was like, "Die with a Smile" is such
Yes.
guerrilla marketing for this movie, and then it is not related, and I was like, "Fuck this damn movie! I was wrong." That's why. That's why.
Yeah.
I will fully admit that's why I don't like this movie because I was so wrong.
Yeah. You need to watch it again. You need to strip yourself of
I know.
all of your ness and just take it in because
Because
this is a really good.
you know what Die with a Smile is about,
It's
right?
about fucking anime, like
It's
the
about
big.
Attack on Titan.
Yeah. That's
I was so
insane to
wrong, dude.
me.
I thought I was so brilliant. I was cracking the marketing code, and I was so
If they
off.
had played Die with a Smile over the credits, it would have absolutely sent this movie into the
If they
stratosphere.
did, I would have stood up. I'd have done a fucking Breakfast Club there at the end. Just, I'd have been like, I nailed it. Good movie. But yeah, that's not what happened.
Do you have anything for me on what build a mountain means? Anything at all?
Gonna build a mountain.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the whole thing, she was like, "What are you guys gonna do when you get out? We're gonna build a mountain." What is that? Build a mountain out of a little hill.
I was gonna say it's probably just like I'm gonna do something big. I'm gonna
I guess, yeah.
make a mountain out of a molehill, like
Gonna build a little life together. I don't
something
know.
like that.
I tried to latch onto that part and be like, what does this mean? But
Like
nothing
yeah, real big, but
came
nothing.
of it.
Yeah, I clicked on gonna build a mountain and it just took me to some guy's profile. So
Okay.
whatever that's all about. But I'm glad you watched them. Glad you like them. So part one is it a 9 as well, or is it a 10?
I give it a 9.
And
Like,
then Foley Dude's a 9. So we're just equivalent across the board.
yeah,
Two halves of one whole. It's a 9 across the board.
yes.
I'm still 10 on the first one. I don't remember what I said on the show before. I think I probably gave it a 5. I'm gonna go. I give you a 7 for Folia Do.
We're
As of
cranking
right
it up.
now.
I love it.
As of right now, it's a 7. But like, so Joker for me is like 12 Angry Men, where like
Okay.
if it's on, I just fucking start watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just keeps me moving. I feel like Folia Do won't do that for me because that one's so much like, hey, let's analyze the first one. It's not like unfolding the same.
Okay.
And so that's probably why I'm also like I just don't enjoy it as much. Like I don't see myself getting sucked in to Folia Do. Like I do that with Whiplash too.
That's a good
I
movie.
fucking can't handle that movie. I just like will see it and just be like,
Gotta watch it.
I just gotta watch it, you know. So, two good movies. I'm glad that you liked them because I really was not sure what you would think of either of them, to be honest. So,
I wasn't either. I thought it was gonna be like, you know, 6 out of 10 for both of them. To be honest, I didn't expect
so
to like them, but
I mean, Folia Do ruined it now, but they're not gonna do any other Elseworld type movies.
I wish they
But
would.
I was gonna ask, had this worked out better, would you have been like, oh, DC Elseworld type movies? I'll be there all the time now because
Yeah,
Joker sold me.
absolutely, fully.
Okay.
I mean, I loved what they did with the last Riddler movie, and I think that they could definitely take that character and just pull Paul Dano out of that and be like, "You're in your own weird little movie
Yeah.
now, strange little man."
I don't know what they're gonna do with that now because the guy that made Guardians of the Galaxy has taken over DC's movie universe as a whole.
What?
Yeah, James Gunn owns like the DC film industry right now. They said,
Damn.
"Hey, you made Guardians so good, fix our stuff," and
Guardians is
he like
Marvel
runs
though,
all
right?
of it. Yeah, and DC was like, "We're gonna snag you," and he goes, "Well,
All
let me
right.
make Guardians 3 real quick and make everybody cry about a raccoon, and then I'll come do your work."
Okay.
So we'll see what he does because I guess he understands how to bring the human parts to it, you know?
Yeah.
So see what he does. And there you go. That would be our Joker interlude.
Sweet.
Hopefully, you guys like those movies. Maybe if you haven't seen them and you kind of liked what we talked about with them, because we didn't really get into the plot so much, just kind of the themes and what happened.
I mean, we
So,
showed you the end of the second one, but it's fine.
but what does it mean? You got
What
to
does it
experience it to see
mean?
what it means, you
Yeah.
know? So, I think that's all we got here for you guys. We'll catch you next time.
See ya on the next one.
Later, guys.
Bye.